Hello and welcome to Boomer 11 Live once again. We are 2 hours past our previous live, 2.5 hours, 3 hours past our previous live, but we have a lot of teams still to cover. And right now, today, we'll be covering the Netherlands team. Before that, guys, barely hours left before the 2022 World Cup. Huge excitement. Obviously, both of us are really excited. This World Cup is the first ever Winter World Cup and the first ever that is being held in the Middle East. Lots of firsts, and we spoke about it a lot of times. But man, that vibe, you feel it, the air crackling with electricity and that excitement now really starting to form. And fans are making way to Qatar and to UAE, depending on what your choices are. But I have with me Abel right here. But before I do get to Abel, I have to introduce Boom 11, the risk-free fantasy experience that it provides on Apple App Store and Google Play. You can play fantasy football, especially this FIFA World Cup, without investing any money, and also end up getting rewards if you do well. So all you have to do is pick the right players that will perform well in the game, and that's it. And if they do, then you get points. Based on that, you get coins, and based on that, you get rewards. Abel, how excited are you for the World Cup, especially a Boomer 11 World Cup?
Absolutely, man. I've already made my team for Qatar versus Ecuador. I think I will share my fantasy tips later in the day, possibly maybe just an hour before the game. That's what I'm looking to share my fantasy tips with. But I made a whole data analysis on why and which player to pick for Qatar versus Ecuador. A lot of people won't be familiar with the Qatar team, of course, but they've been doing an excellent job. With the Qatar team has been prolific over the last 4 to 5 years in terms of the development and the way in which they have really developed under Felix Sanchez. Felix Sanchez uh, is a very big figure in that Qatar team because he's been coaching since under 10s, under 14s. He has coached all these players since under 16. So can you believe the number of years he spent with this team? And he's seen all these kids, all these players since they were kids. And he's seen a complete development. He's been in Qatar for the last 17 years. So credits to Qatar government for that and for bringing him and putting him in an entire structure of footballing in Qatar and the way in which they have really progressed, bringing in some Spanish coaches. For example, Xavi himself was part of Qatar, Al Sadd, and many of the players from the Qatar national team are from Al Sadd because of the system they have, the Spanish system, the Spanish kind of football they want to play. I don't want to dwell much into Qatar. I think I can speak for hours and hours on Qatar. Very fascinating team. But now here we are. I'm super excited. I especially knowing it is the World Cup day. Every World Cup day since 2010 in my memory has been very special. Because 2010 was my first World Cup where I really sat and watched almost every game. 2006, I have very bleak memories. I was 6 year old back then. I have very bleak memories of what happened. But I remember I was for fun fact, I was supporting Italy that World Cup and they went on to win the World Cup. So how that started was because I had this Inter Milan jersey and they had an Italian flag right there. And I was like, wow, which team is this? Should I be supporting them? And I was like, I'm an Italian fan. And fun fact, they went on to win the World Cup. And I was like, should I be an Italian fan? But by 2006, 7, I was like, okay, maybe they're not my favorite team. All of a sudden, this craze for Barcelona. I was a huge Ronaldinho fan as well. I was this close of going and supporting Brazil and actually donning the Brazil colors. But then you know what happened? Biden Ronaldinho stopped playing for Brazil, so I was like, no, I don't want to be supporting. Then it was always Messi and following Argentina all the way around. So that's been my World Cup journey. But 2010 was my first World Cup memory. But since that 2010 World Cup, I loved watching one team play. It was the Dutch team. I was always a huge fan of the Dutch team because of the way in which they are so organized. They play really good football, right?
Yeah.
Historically, they've been playing some of the best football over the years, and love the way how they've really developed as a nation as well in terms of their tactical nuances, in terms of the players they've got in the team. I'm very excited to be talking about the Dutch team, especially today. I know we are late night, almost 3 in the morning here, but nonetheless, excitement talking about football, and it's a World Cup day gets my adrenaline pushing even more.
Yeah, absolutely. World Cup is that time, right? Even those who don't watch football on a regular basis will tune in. Every once in a while, every 4 years, you see non-football fans also get into this hype around the World Cup, and that's I think nothing has changed this year as well. Definitely, this year being probably marking the end of a generation. Players that we've all grown up. Players that people my age have grown up watching, have seen their career develop. And now most of them are going to be saying goodbye. So a lot of what do you say, nostalgia will be coming into this year's World Cup. Probably last hooray for a lot of legends. Let's talk about this Dutch team right here, Abel. As this is a focus of our conversation today. Let's look at their records throughout the World Cup qualifiers, and I mean, pretty good. I mean, in the I mean, in the 10 games that they have played, they won seven, and drew two, and have lost only once, which means a very decent record, you would say, won't you?
Yeah, I mean, in the last 10 games, especially, they've been unbeaten. So, good run of form leading into the World Cup. It's so important to look at the run of form, the recent run of form. It could possibly be where you look at the results which happened earlier on 2019, 2020. But post that, under Louis Van Gaal, this team has done great. Louis Van Gaal is definitely a legendary coach. We all do not have to dwell much on his accolades as a coach and the way in which he has really developed each team he has coached. Talking about Barcelona, talking about the Dutch team of 2014. He's got a very good record as a coach. Let's all accept that. And for fun fact, how he has taken over this team when they were not doing really well. 2018 did not qualify for the World Cup. That was possibly their worst time. 2016 missed out on Euros once again. So they were not going through the best of times as a footballing nation, as a team. A lot of players were transitioning. They lost some of the big legends, right? They lost Robin, they lost Van Persie, they lost
Yeah.
Cute. So a lot of players had to move on. So they had to find a new bunch of players. They had to find the right talent, and that's where I felt a club like Ajax, they went for domestic talents a lot more. They looked at players who are playing um, within the country, especially like of Ajax, PSV, Eindhoven. All these clubs are like the breeding ground for best talents in Europe, and that's what they made most out of. Now, if you look, they've got a considerable bunch of players who are from Ajax, who were part of PSV Eindhoven, who are
Yeah.
still playing for Ajax, for example, and what some of the European giants as well, the likes of Van Dijk and Delete and all these that. So it's a good mix. It's a good mix of youth and experience, and of course, coach well trained rather by a legendary coach like Louis Van Gaal.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think they've had a very, very good performance, you would say, in the qualifiers as well. As you said, they are extremely technical team. You know, all their players, you would see, are one of the best when it comes to technical quality. But I mean, let's look at the XG, Abel. Staggering numbers right there. I mean, also the average possession as well. I mean, if you combine that and a possession of 72 percentage, and if you look at the XG, you've got 3.2 for when they're scoring goals, and against them in the defending, that is, it's just 0.69. I mean, that's just incredible,
Yeah.
isn't it?
It is absolutely incredible. I was just looking at their average possession as well, because when you talk about Netherlands, I think they focus a lot on the way in which they play the football. Because the style of play is so important to understand. As I keep telling about a lot of other teams, the identity is so important for every team, and identity of this Netherlands is to play football and play football in a manner. They believe in that system of total football where everybody should be comfortable on the ball, everybody should be interchangeably playing well, and that's a phenomenal thing to actually achieve in a team like Netherlands, and they've done that so perfectly. And that's why I personally believe, this team has done things in a very smooth manner, which I am a huge fan of it. And I'm a huge fan of Louis Van Gaal as a coach. He's done everything right for this team, especially in the way in which they've been able to play good. For look at the XG, especially for example,
Yeah.
3.2 XG is no mere joke. If you're talking about one of the best scoring teams, they made it to a Nations League semi-final as well. Um, Now, just talking about the way in which they're constructed, now I just want to talk about some of the best players, right? Top scorers, if you look, it is Memphis Depay, the big name, of course. There is Davy Klaassen, who is pretty recent. Luke De Jong, he's not part of the, but I'm very excited about Doniel Malen. Doniel Malen is a fantastic player. I've been a fan of him. Very excited to see his development as a Dortmund player as well. But the way in which this team is constructed around certain players
I
who
mean,
can play in different
if you look
positions
at
is what makes this team so important.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as you look, if you look at also the top assists as well, you could say that Memphis Depay, got confused there. Memphis Depay is the major player for this team, isn't it? I mean, he's also, as you've already seen on this graph, for top goal scorers, he's got 12 goals. He also has six assists, which means 18 goal contributions in 10 matches.
Absolutely, and we were talking about Neymar a couple of hours ago, where we said
Yeah,
Neymar is such an important or an integral part of the Brazilian system. And as I say, for Netherlands system, I can't really pinpoint at Memphis Depay alone, because they are a team who don't focus just alone on Memphis Depay. They're a team who focuses on a lot more other players. That's why I like watching their kind of play. I mean, I was pretty disappointed in the way in which they got knocked out in the Euros. I think they got knocked out by Czech Republic, if I'm not wrong, in Euros, and that was something which came as a shocker to me personally as well, because they were having a very decent Euros until then. And remember, they did not have a figure like Van Dijk as well in that Euro. So it wasn't easy, because Van Dijk's leadership acumen, his defensive ability comes to be so important for this team. And talking about Memphis Depay, he's been in a different gravy altogether when you talk about him
yeah,
in the Dutch jersey, as we speak about a lot of other players as well. Because in club football, you find them as like a players who are still mediocre, who's not yet hit the potential. But when it comes to Memphis Depay in the Dutch jersey, is a whole another player. He plays crazy good football. And that's what I would say, because in the way in which he is able to, he's an outlet when it comes to the transition, the way in which he runs the game. Is part of the two-man striking system which they have. But attacking transitions, of course, another five-man striking system, which I will definitely delve into. And I think in a better way, we are going to explain it in a slightly different way today by bringing a
yeah.
tactical board. I think we are going to go a lot more in depth. As I keep saying, we want to. So this is the data what we've been able to extract out of them. The XG is top notch. Again, talking about the XG, one of the most important reason for this XG is because of the way in which they attack, the fluidity they have. The five men who attacks can interchange their positions. It's not that Memphis Depay is a player who will stay centrally. His ability to go wide is one of the reasons why this team is so good. Bergwijn is also someone who's positioned centrally, but he can also go wide. Berghuis, he can go centrally, he can go wide. Same thing when you talk about Dumfries as well. They can cut in centrally, play wide. So the fluidity and the interchangeability in the squad is what makes this squad very unique, and what makes this squad a very threatening squad leading into that World Cup.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be very interesting how this team goes around its business, because it has been one of the most successful teams, you would say, in its group. Obviously, but when you're playing World Cup qualifiers, you don't face the kind of opposition that you face in the World Cup.
Yeah.
But I mean, let's just look at the squad now, Abel. I mean, coming into this Dutch team. What do you reckon? I mean, overall, let's start with the manager himself, Louis Van Gaal, someone who is a legendary manager, as you mentioned. His claim to fame was really with this Dutch team. Then he went to Barcelona. That things did not go well for him. Now he's back again. How much do you think he has been an influence in this Dutch team?
I mean, he's been very good. I mean, the way in which he started off his entire journey with Dutch team, especially the 2014 campaign, is what comes into my mind. And Barcelona, when we talk about him in in later part of 90s, he was fantastic as a coach. And for him to come back and to take off Manchester United right after the Dutch triumph was something which I thought was not the best way, because the weightage of the shoes he was filling right after Sir Alex Ferguson's departure was massive. And hence
Hmm.
that kind of pressure really got onto him at some stage, and he did not have the right players as well fitting into that system which he demanded. So some things you need to understand: there is no doubting his credentials as a coach, or there's no doubting the way in which he's coached this team, because it's been outstanding to say the least. But the way in which he was treated in Manchester United towards the latter end, as you say about a lot of players, even Ronaldo had come out saying that, right? So it has not really gone in his favor if you ever talk about that. But if let's look at the system which he deploys. He deploys uh, I would say rather a 3-5-2 kind of system, with three at the back and five midfielders, where he has wing backs and Dumfries and also Daily Blind. And you can see in that attack, Gakpo is a possible starter, but then I still think someone like a Klaassen will start alongside Berghuis, because Berghuis is a preferred option for Van Dijk, especially if you look at the way in which they
I
play. I
mean, we
think
were
we
also
talk about
going, when you go through the top goals and top assists. Klassen has got four each assists and goals. So I think there it's really not a question that who would start, because obviously he's done that. He's done his bit to be able to start now in this team, isn't it?
Absolutely, and especially the way in which he has been so pivotal for this team during the qualifiers. that's one of the reasons why I think he's going to be the sure starter for this team. And if I have to talk about the his impact into this team, the way he makes his in behind runs, the way in which he plays as double pivot with Frankie De Jong. That's a very notable thing that you should keep in mind, especially with the Dutch team. When you talk about the attacking transition, I think I'll put up a. I think is it time we can draw up a tactical board. You're on mute.
Yeah, yeah, we should go ahead with it definitely. So this is
I
the
think we can
first
bring
time
it
we're
up.
trying this out. We're going to try and explain a little bit about tactics. And this is the idea that maybe when we visualize it, it'll get a lot easier because football tactics can be extremely complicated, as I am
Hmm.
coming to know.
Yeah.
Maybe if you just
So
go full screen able, maybe it'll be a lot better to understand. Yeah.
yeah, I think we'll go full
There we
screen.
go. And this is for those of you who've taken classes during the pandemic. This will be something of a nostalgic recollection. So on to you,
Yeah.
Professor Abel.
Okay. So here's what I'm going to explain for you people how they're going to move in attacking transition, something which I really wanted to do for the longest period of time. So let's talk about them in attacking transition, right? So how they'll possibly line up is this: they'll go in with a 3-5-2 system with Denzel Dumfries as your wing back and Daily Blend as well, who gives you that defensive support on the left hand side. And you will see the two attacking men from Depay and Bergwijn who will play on the ball. Now, if you look, Depay slightly moves forward, and Bergwijn is the one who will support striker for him. Now, let's talk about the attack and transition. I'm a little nervous right now because my first time explaining like this. I really pity all those teachers now
You
who
need
is
to think
explaining
of
in an
yourself
online
as
class.
a. I think this is like a lower budget Sky Sports sort of a presentation. So
No,
no
I don't want
no
to
need
call
to.
us a low budget, but that really hurt me, Jaren.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah. Why not?
Okay,
Why
so this is
should
how
we?
they're
Right?
going to line up most likely, and you will see a 3-4-1-2 because Berghuis is going to just play behind these two, and attacking transition. What you're going to see is, uh, Berghuis is going to get right in behind, and Daily Blend is going to drop here, and there's going to be a three-man system. Um, okay, wait, yeah, Daily Blend is going to drop here, and then you will see Dumfries going in and Klaassen going on the left hand side. So this is how they're going to line up, and this is the attacking transition where you're going to see two at the back, and this is how it is. 2-3-5 is how they're going to attackingly form themselves into, where you will see Depay making those runs in. So you can also play on the left hand side, and you will see an interchangeable connection where Burgers is going to be more central, and Bergwijn might drop in a little more deeper. Might go into the right hand side to give the width, and at times you will see Dumfries cutting in, and they'll interchange and play. So the best part about this team is each of them can come and play centrally at the same time switch the wings. So this is a serious team in terms of that. And if you look at Justin Timber is a very good right back option as well. When it comes to the defensive transition, go into more like a five at the back, where you will see De Jong also drop down, and then you will see Klaassen and Berghuis being here. Then, or it could also be at times where De Jong goes into a pivot, and you will see Dumfries back here. Then Timber go here. Timber go mostly in the right center back. He's more of a right option over here. But this is how they will be on the defensive transitions more often than not. A five at the back system. But other than that, they play three. This is how they will line up. And off the ball movements is something which is very good about this. I think it's like me in a candy store right now. I'm gonna do a lot of stuff with this. But yeah, just to talk about how they will line up in a tournament like the World Cup, I think this is how they can operate. Now, when we talk about the concept of total football, I personally think Louis Van Gaal is going to really, come at other opposition. He's a immense, you know, a professor, or he's like a professor of the game in itself, because he studies every opposition in depth so that he can break down every opposition tactically. And what happens with oppositions is that, especially when you have a team like Netherlands, it's tough to mark them. Now, you're going to see a
Mhm.
Depay play centrally, and all of a sudden he's going to switch the wing. Now you're going to see a Daily
Yeah.
Blend being here. Okay, I'm just going to move again back to this. So Berghuis, of course, goes centrally. He's more of a person who plays centrally and just drops right behind them. Now, see, Berghuis can go on the right hand side. Then Bergwijn will cut in. Then Dumfries is going to give you the width at all time, and that's how they're going to line up more often than not. Because Daily Blind does not make the attacking runs. He does not have the pace at this point as well to make those attacking runs. He's more like a left center back, come left back and left mid at times if need be. So he's the one who tucks into the midfield while the attacking transition happens. And here is where the real game changes, right? Depay switches in between. Depay, changes his wings, and it's so tough to mark them. You do not know which player to really mark and which player plays an ideal position. So here is what here is the biggest strength of the Dutch national team, and I think that is what it is. I think hope the presentation was pretty helpful for a lot of people. It's our first time trying to do something different, and I think it's so important to also understand what this Dutch team, the philosophy of this Dutch team, as we keep telling, this is a probable lineup which they can also line up in, which is 5-3-2. This is mostly a defensive transition. This is how they're going to shape up in a defensive transition. But other than that, I have a strong feeling that they might also look at Gakpo instead of Bergwijn as well. Gakpo has been in outstanding form through the course of this season for PSV.
I mean, yeah, I mean, a lot of tactical breakdown right there. But let's look at some of their options. And able, let's start with those defenders right there. I mean, they've got some real good quality there, isn't it? Van Dijk, Nathan Ake, Blaine. I mean, and then Timber, Dumfries. A lot of names. Delict. I think that's where the strength of this team lies in.
Yeah. See, I think the midfield is their biggest strength. And just talking about, I think I should share my screen again. I'll just show you one second. I think this, because this team is one of the most tactically well built team. You have to explain it by a tactical analysis. So I think I'll share my screen once again. So it'll help you people, and it's going to help a lot of people to understand the game as well. I'm not a great football pundit, guys, but then just trying my best. Shot it here. So this is I told you this is them in attacking transitions. But now going back to normal positions again. Uh, Gary Blin goes here on the left hand side. Then Klaassen drops here. Dumfries is here as always. Yeah, yeah. As I keep telling, you see Frankie De Jong. His positional play is going to be one of the biggest factor for this team. Time and time again, you feel that Frankie De Jong likes to advance on with the ball. He's a good ball progressor. He is very good, especially in the final third as well, in terms of his decision making. And he's a very fluid player. He can be used as an advanced midfielder. But for this Dutch team, he plays as a single pivot. More often than not, you will see him play as a single pivot. And
Even, I think it's
yeah,
still not showing on the screen yet.
okay, one second. I think there is something wrong.
Yeah, I think right now we're still looking at the probable 11.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So
now
just
it's
just going back,
yeah.
just going back again, to be talking about it. So as I was saying, especially when you talk about this team, in the way in which how De Jong is going to play as a single pivot is how this team is going to be lining up as, because he's the most important factor in this team. As I mentioned, Berghuis and Klaassen is going to provide this width, especially in to run in behind between these both, and Klaassen is also going to do a very similar job. And I think Dumfries and more often than not, Dumfries is another player who's going to give that extra bit of width. And Timber is going to drop right here, and they're going to look like this is how they're going to line up mostly, where in attacking transitions once again for you people. But as I keep saying, De Jong's positioning is so vital for this team. He's going to be that single pivot player, and how he's going to control the game is the way in which how this Dutch team is going to really progress further as well. And I think Denzel Dumfries, he's got a very important role as well in this team because of the way in which he's been playing. He really provides with, especially when it comes to his pace on the right hand side, and for him to take down the opposition wing backs. That's where it's gonna be so vital to use him at the right times. And Van Hal has done it so beautifully. He's the one who makes those runs through the right hand side more often than not, which helps Depay to also get into positions and Bergwijn to be right here. So their attacking outlets are right here. It's from Dumfries to Berghuis to Bergwijn, and Bergwijn to Klaassen, and Klaassen to Depay. So that's how they play, or Depay to Bergwijn, and that's how they possibly go in it as well, or Depay to Klaassen. So this is how they attackingly. This is an attacking outlet formation with the ball. Dumfries to Berghuis to Bergwijn, and then Depay to Klaassen, or Depay to Klaassen again, and that's how they go about it. I think I'm explaining more than Louis Van Gaal at this point. I think I should just
I mean,
stop it.
so here's my question, right, Abel?
Yeah,
If you look at this area now, if suppose the ball has been put right here, right, is
yeah.
this the area where you would say that they're a little weaker? Because if suppose the ball exchanges hands and you have to, you have what do you say, the team now coming at Netherlands. Do you think the area where Klaassen is deployed is that one area where teams can start to run behind him?
Absolutely, I think that's one of the weak spots as well. But then that's where Daily Blind in this positioning is going to come in. He's going to come in so handy in the half spaces and especially out wide in defensive transitions. So as I keep telling, in defensive transition, what's going to happen is they're going to transition very quickly into a five at the back system where Daily Blind is going to drop here and Dumfries, if he's not able to drop in, he's going to come here and Timber is going to go here. So it's already four at the back, and if they come here, it's going to be five at the back, and Burkhas is going to drop here, and it's going to be more like a 5-3-2 as I already mentioned in predicted 11. So here is what it's going to be so much because as Daily Blind is already behind, he can cover that half space, and Justin Timber, who's a very good right back and right center back option, can also cover that space when they lose the ball in the final third over there. So in defensive transition, they've got the players to cover it out, hence which makes them a very important team. So that's how whenever they've lost the ball, especially during the qualifier stages, that's how they've defended. Hence the XG against them is just 0.9. But at the same time, they're such an attacking minded team where everybody's so comfortable on the ball. Every player, starting from the goalkeeper to the striker, everybody's so comfortable on the ball. They can take their time on the ball. They can hold up the play. They can possibly link up with any of the players out there on the field. So hence they're a very attacking and a very fluid team, and even on defensive transition, which makes them a very compact unit. You look at Delete. He's such a compact full. He's a very technical defender as well. Same thing, Van Dijk. I don't have to talk much about Van Dijk. One can definitely question his form leading into this World Cup, but then come on. I mean, I think he's going to come really good, especially in the World Cup,
I mean, but
especially
so here's
partnering
my
with Van
question,
Dijk.
Vipul.
Well,
You've never seen Van Dijk. I think Van Dijk lost his form around the time he got injured. Is there some issues in terms of his game now that injuries impacted,
I don't think
or is
so.
it
What's
just the fact
happened?
that he needs to get back to form, or
Yeah, he's
Liverpool is
lost
maybe.
right amount of pace for sure after the injury, and that's bound to happen with every player whoever has played the game. It's definitely not going to be easy for you to come back and to get back in complete form or in complete fitness after an injury. So it's going to take an invariable amount of time for you to get back into the shape. But what is happening with Van Dijk in Liverpool is on the right hand side. You've got a Trent Alexander-Arnold who's been not doing the best of defensive. He's not been putting the best defensive work rate, and when it comes to him on the as his partnering centre back, it's either Joe Matip or even at times they had to go in with centre backs who are not even experienced. So Joe Matip, there is no questioning on his ability as a centre back, but let's be honest about it. He's not the best. He's not maybe as good as maybe a Delete. Because Delete
Hmm.
is as good as a centre back as anybody in the world because his ability on the ball is the way in which he's a leader in himself, right? The kind of aura which Delete carries is just top notch, and he's had a very good season with Bayern as well. So
Yeah.
I personally think that's what's going to really help Van Dijk. And alongside him is a very good technical centre back in Timber. Timber is another centre back who's going to help him, especially in defensive transition. So he's well covered. And Denzel Dumfries and Daily Blind, who can also give you that defensive work rate, especially Daily Blind can give you the defensive work rate. And De Jong as a cover for both of them, who's going to drop in if need be, is a very good option. So defensively is well sorted, and with Van Dijk's ability, you don't have to cover him. He can be the main man when it comes to the defensive. When it comes to him putting in the defensive work, when it comes to him leading the line as well. So leading the defensive line is what I'm talking about here. So I personally think this is one of the best defensively organized team, a team who can
Yeah.
go out there and put in a show because they're so compact in terms of the creativity. They've got players in terms of attacking outlets. They've got players in terms of them creating threats on the wider region. They've got players. One of the most fluid and one of the most underrated teams, and I think they're a strong contender in this World Cup, especially.
Fair enough. I mean, let's look at one player in particular, right? When you spoke about a tactical analysis, the one player that really struck me was De Jong. He looks like the person who is going to be the key when it comes to that attacking transition and the defensive transition. So, how much important is him in that team right now? I mean, in this Netherlands setup, according to Vanguard.
See, De Jong's positional play is one of the best out there in Europe, and I've always been a huge advocate of him being deployed as a single pivot. Even for Barcelona, I've always maintained that he should play as a single pivot because he's got an ability to do it. Especially in the 2019 Ajax most successful season, he was a single pivot in most of the games. He can drop in deep. He can play as a centre back at times as well, but is he can be a lot more creative. He can be the engine room of a player when when you deploy him in a single pivot role where you don't make him actually advance a lot more. I know De Jong. Everybody says De Jong has got the tendency to advance as a single pivot. That's what makes him a very vulnerable single pivot because he's always attack minded. He wants to advance deep into the field, where he wants to be more of a box to box player more than a player who stays within the central region and actually control the entire game. So De Jong in Van Gaal system, see, Van Gaal is a manager who's very rigid, and you should. So there's a very funny anecdote which I want to go back. So I remember Pep Guardiola sharing this. He says that if you don't follow Van Gaal, he used to kick your balls. So, so,
It's such a
so
pep thing to say. Such
it's
a
such a
pep thing
Pep
to
thing to
say.
say, and even Mourinho did say that as well. I think it was Mourinho or Luis Enrique who said that. I don't remember who it was exactly, but then yeah, Van Hal is such a strong figure. Everybody's scared of Van Hal because he's known as a dictator in the team in positive sense, not in negative sense. A dictator in the team who likes to control the entire team. He likes to play with the system. He doesn't like to tinker with the system. The moment you tinker with the system, he's like, get out of my team. You don't deserve to be in this lineup. So if you're a player with a slight bit of ego, you can't fit into the system. I'm being very honest, and that's the kind of manager he has been. That's the kind of manager, that's like the aura which he carries throughout as well, and hence what he has done with Frankie De Jong is so good to see. I remember the game against Belgium in the Nations Cup where they made sure Belgium was not even, they made Belgium look like a 50th ranked FIFA team or something of that sort, because the way in which Frankie De Jong controlled from the central region was just fascinating to see, because he was having enough time on the ball. He was making all the calls. Then he used to progress the ball to Berhoy or Klassen. From there they used to make the decision making. They used to switch play. Their fluidity in that game, where everybody was switching the wings, everyone was switching their position up front in the attacking five, was just brilliant to watch. Hence, I think what Van Hal has really instilled into this team is that your role is this, and you're going to do this only. And hence, I think it's a very simple system, but tough to execute. And they've done that so good so far. And I think going into the World Cup, they'll do that. They're putting a group with Qatar, Senegal, and who else? Ecuador as well. And they should ideally top that group. And anything less than that, I'll be very surprised. And once they top that group, they're going to play against either England, Wales, Iran, or USA. I think it should be, unless it's England, it should be an easy run for them until quarterfinals. Then it's anybody's game from there on.
Yeah, I mean, interesting really to be seen how this team goes. But yeah, I mean, thanks for the really intricate tactical analysis. And how does it feel? Do you feel like a pundit now?
I mean, yeah, I've lived my life for this, and I finally have
I mean,
accomplished.
it has really helped me as well. I mean, as I already mentioned, it's something, the tactical side of football is something I'm still getting used to, but I hope it helps everyone else as well to, kind of visualize the things that we're trying to break into, because football tactics can be very complicated. It's not as simple as FIFA makes it seem. And yeah, I mean, Sean's got it proper. I think Sean's
Thank
got
you
it
so much.
exactly right. The little maestro that Abel is. Uh,
You wish Sunday money. I don't think that's happening, but yeah, talking about choking, let me talk about the history of the Netherlands team, right? Netherlands, 1974 finalists, 1978 finalists, 2010 finalists, 2014 third place. I've always come close to sniffing that trophy, but never won it. So 1988 is when they won that Euros. It was a dream Euro for them, right? They had some of the best players, Ruud Gullit, all these lads stepping up for that moment, because they deserved it. Because after all the good football they've been playing, when you talk about Johan Cruyff's system and the way the philosophy of the Dutch football comes from the roots in itself, and they're very big on the system and the youth development, and they never got an opportunity to win the World Cup. They're one of the most unluckiest team when we talk about South Africa. As he's spot on. I don't think he's wrong in that. They've never gotten an opportunity. They've always showed you signs like they can win a World Cup, but they never won it. Once again, I really hope they go on to do well, but I don't know if they're going to win a World Cup. See, always it's been the case. They always give you the sniff of them going on to do and go actually achieve something big. Especially in 2010, they had a team to do it, and they came so close to doing it as well. But it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. So yeah, I mean that's pretty much on the tactical side of things. Now let's look at some of the key players and able two right here. We have Steven Bergwijn and Memphis Depay. We already spoke about Depay. World Cup qualifiers, as you mentioned, 12 goals, 6 assists. Bergwijn too in the Dutch league so far. That is the Eredivisie. He's got 8 goals and 3 assists. So one more player probably there is going to be Frankie De Jong, as because when we saw the key stats and the key, I mean, when we saw the assists and the goals, Frankie De Jong was nowhere there. But as you discussed on the tactical side of things, Frankie De Jong is very important. But run me through how important is Memphis Depay and Steven Bergwijn for this team now.
As I keep telling, Memphis Depay is an important attacking outlet more than anything, and the way in which he is such a big threat up front. See, it also depends on Memphis Depay's form leading into the World Cup. I thought for Barcelona he was very underconfident, especially him in front of the goal. I hope that's not the case when he's with Netherlands. I hope Louis van Gaal really speaks to him, gives him that confidence to go out there to be more confident, to have them give him that confidence to be more confident in front of the goal. That's so important for him, especially in the final third. Decision making, he can't be late on decision making, which I thought was one of his downfalls for Barcelona in the last 1 year, where he was taking that extra bit of second for his decision making,
I mean, able to here's my
which really
question for you.
affected him in
Uh,
victory. Yeah,
if I
yeah.
may, the stats that we're seeing right now on our screens is the same Memphis. It's during the same time that Memphis Depay has struggled to play for Barcelona. So is it more like the fact that this Netherlands team or this Dutch team is Memphis Depay's team, but that in that Barcelona team he's had to fight or prove to the manager or prove to Xavi that he deserved to be in that team.
Uh, yeah. I mean, to be very fair, that's another thing which we have been talking about. Players who play for club and who plays internationally as well. I think they feel a lot more comfortable when they play for their country because the pressure is slightly lesser for some players. For some players, it's totally on the others on the flip side as well. For Memphis Depay, I see it's the other way around. Where in Barcelona, he's been given that he's been put as a left winger more often than not. He does not get to play centrally, but for Netherlands, he's getting to play a lot more centrally. His job is pretty simple: to get into positions, to switch plays, to to link up a lot with Klaassen and Berghuis, and to link up a lot with Bergwijn as well. So it's his role clarity is pretty much simple in the Dutch team, and him working with a manager like Louis van Gaal, who really adores this player. I remember in 2014 when Louis van Gaal went to Manchester United, one of the first signings which he wanted in Manchester United was Memphis Depay, and the very
Yeah,
fact is that he really adores this lad, and everybody thought this guy had a huge potential. I remember in 2014 World Cup, he had a breakthrough kind of a World Cup where he was too good. He was good on the ball. He's a lot more quicker back then, but he has gotten a lot more mature, I believe, especially in the last 1 year playing for the Dutch team. But I don't see that a lot with Barcelona because I follow him a lot more in Barcelona than in the Dutch team. For Barcelona, I feel he's a lot more underconfident on the ball, which has been slightly um, a huge disappointment for me and for himself. For of course, I think he's going to be personally disappointed with the way in which he has not really stepped up his game for Barcelona with the amount of opportunities he's gotten for the team as well. Hence, I believe for Netherlands, with the kind of support he has gotten, with the kind of attacking outlets he have, maybe a Steven Bergwijn is more attacking, especially up front than a Ferran Torres, or maybe even more than a Dembele at times. So I'm not comparing anybody, but then the fact is that, especially when it comes to the Dutch team, the system really enables those players to be more to provide more of the attacking potency up front. So which helps Memphis Depay also to play in that role. And also talking about Memphis Depay's link up with Gakpo is going to be something which I'm really excited to watch because Gakpo has been an excellent player this season. He's gotten the same amount of stats as an Erling Haaland, and hence the form of a player, regardless of where he plays, if you're pinning in goals left, right, and center, that's definitely going to up your confidence by a huge margin. And that's something which I'm excited to see about how he's going to link up play with someone like a Gakpo and leading into that first game.
Sean is asking us if you're going to be, leaving Boom 11 to get some coaching gigs.
I think I'll start out with my university team. I think I should sack the university coach and
So, I mean,
be the manager.
I mean, a fun fact, he did try to coach a house in our college,
No, no,
but
no,
they
no,
did
no.
not
I did not
listen
coach
to.
any house. This is just nonsense. Don't create
He
stories.
did go and whisper. Okay, fine. I wouldn't say coach. Coaching is a strong word. He did go whisper some tactics in the
No,
ears
no,
of the
I did
left
not
back,
whisper any
and
tactics.
it
I
did
just
not work
told
out.
that player to keep an eye on a player, which he did not do. Hence, they went on to concede 4 goals. It's so important to listen to the manager as well. Manager does not control the player. Only if I was a FIFA manager in playing a FIFA. But you know what? Some of the video analysis did help as well at times, especially when
Yeah,
it's.
yeah,
I'm slowly finding a career path there.
yeah.
I
Maybe
think.
we'll see you as a Bengaluru FC's coach soon enough, Abel. Because there seems to
I,
be a
I don't think I'm there. I'm still very confused as to what sport to pick. I'm very confused. So yeah,
all
but
right.
I love breaking down things tactically. As I keep saying, that's a niche which we want to create for the entire channel.
Yeah,
Let it be for
yeah.
cricket and for football as well. Thank you, Armando Broja Diaz. I hope I'm not spelling your name wrong, because I think you're from Spain, and yeah, I'm happy that we've been able to contribute in the best way possible in terms of tactical analysis. Something which we want to talk. I know everybody can. I've just mentioned this in the last live as well. Everybody can sit and talk about football in a way it is covered in a shallow layer and talk about the best moments,
Yeah.
emotional side of things. But we want to go more in depth. Hence, we are doing this. I know it can be very intricate for a listener. That's why I'm trying to make it as simple as possible. And there's already a channel called Football Made Simple. But the fact is that I want to make it more simple for laymen also to understand. I know it can sound very boring, uh, very strategic at times, so that anybody who listens will be like, okay, I'm not understanding. I'm just gonna go to another channel. But I'll try to make it as simple as possible. Just this makes me feel like I'm running a coaching class over here, but nonetheless, love it.
Now, who knows? Maybe Boomer 11 could also mean a football team, Abel.
Yes, I'm auditioning
Well,
myself to be a tactical analyst. I think for
oh,
some
things
of
are
the
gonna
games.
get even more spicier, when tomorrow's match for the review, when he has to break down tactically both the teams and where things went wrong.
Oh, don't
But
ask me that. It takes it. Let me be very honest. It's a tough job to be sitting here and talking tactically.
it
We
is, it
prepare
is.
2 to 3 hours on this team. Hence, we had to come 3 in the morning for this live, or else it would have been easier, right, to watch the match. I'm still not a pro in football. Let me make it very clear, or else I would have been
I
talking about
mean,
it.
I don't know, Abel. I
I'm
think,
very much
I
a
think at this
beginner
point
in
in time,
tactical analysis. So
yeah.
if I make mistakes, do correct me. And when it comes to cricket, at least I can say I have a better stronghold there. But when it comes to football, I'm still a beginner.
Fair enough, fair enough. I think it's just a little bit of modesty I'm hearing, but I mean
No, I'm
whatever.
being
So
very serious.
let's just
I'm
move
being
on then.
serious.
Abel, let's
I'm
look at
being
these.
serious. Sadio
Yeah.
Mane is the best player in the world. Nothing. I just had to pull out the Liverpool meme.
All right, all right. Let's go and look at the kids. An interesting selection here of clothing material to start off with, Abel. Uh,
It looks like it's from Chennai Silks.
Yes, yes. It looks like a Indian. It looks like a sari converted into a t-shirt. You know what? Sometimes moms do. Any
Yeah.
Asian child watching, they'll probably be able to. I suppose. Looks like a shirt that was made of a mom's sari. But what do you think of it?
Yeah.
I think players are going to be blinded. Yeah, opposition.
Yeah, I mean, it looks very catchy, very much other glittery. What do I say? It's not even saffron. It's proper
I think it's
orange,
more
orange.
gold than orange.
It's a goldish orange, and
Yeah.
I think Memphis Depay will be a huge fan of the drip. I think he's gonna love it. I think he's a designer behind this. He likes the
Maybe. Yeah.
gold all around, and it's more Memphis Depay kind of thing. And I also think Chennai Silks has played a part. I love to see them as a silky cotton, a silky way to sort of wear it. I'm
I mean,
excited to
who
see how
knows?
they're gonna go up in the first match.
Yeah. What do you think of the away one? Away one is a little bit more,
It's very
a lot.
basic. I like it, but I always enjoy the Dutch logo. It doesn't have to do with this lion logo that they never win big matches. It looks like an RCB logo to me, and I don't know. It
England did
doesn't
win
have
the
to.
World Cup.
Is the luck like that?
England did win the World Cup. Cricket World Cup.
No, I don't know. I mean that
Maybe you need
logo.
more than one lion. You need three lions to win.
Yeah,
I
you
think
need
that is
three
it.
lines sort of thing,
I
and
think Sri
especially
Lanka is
that
also
logo
struggling,
is
right? So I
weird.
think it's three lions.
I like the logo so much, but the fact is, it's not giving any luck for both Netherlands and RCB. I know one of my friend. I think Ankit Baya from Almighty Blues is a fan of RCB and Netherlands. I can imagine him. So And even Chelsea, they've got a very similar logo, right? So he supports all the
Yeah,
teams.
yeah, 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 yeah.
So yeah, but at least Chelsea wins
Well,
champions. I'm happy about that.
so how much do you rate that? How much do you rate the Chennai Silks jersey and then the normal football
I like the blue
jersey?
one for the blue one, and I think it's a very different color combination because of a drip, the golden thing. I'll just go with a 7 on 10. I don't want to rate any bad. It's a decent color. It's a decent color combination. So I'll go with a 7 on 10.
And not for me, I would say 6.5. I think the jersey, the away jersey is a lot better. I am not the fan of the bling, as you would put it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's 3 in the morning, and I'm actually running out of thoughts at this point.
I think we have a lot of things to talk about as well, but we'll be back soon. I mean, less than 24 hours to go, as I've already said.
I think
It's Qatar versus
we are doing like 3 or 4 videos tomorrow, so you guys are gonna have a lot of entertainment. It is the World Cup day, so we're gonna be reviewing one more team and 3 more teams in one episode. I think we're gonna be talking especially on the underdogs. It's something which we in Boomer do before every tournament. We just have a special episode on the underdogs. So who are the dark horse underdogs? I just keep asking this question all the time. Do you want to call them the dogs or horses? It's up to you. But then the fact is that if they perform well, they get called the better.
I think that's just a
So
difference between dogs and horses. Is the horse that the dog that runs long enough in the tournament becomes a horse, and if you exit too early, then you stay a dog. I think that's how it works. So
yeah,
if you
I
get into
think.
the quarters, you become a dark
What do
horse.
you think? What do you think is the best thing to be called for a team?
Uh, I think I have always liked the underdog story. I think dogs. Dogs are lovely, yeah.
Dogs are cute, so I'll call them the under puppies. I
Under
think.
puppies.
I mean, who named it? Do you have any idea how this name came about for the first time?
No, no idea. Not at all.
I mean, that's a very fascinating thing to be honest, because
Maybe
underdogs,
we'll do
dark
an episode
horses.
on it.
Sorry.
Maybe we'll do an episode on it after a thorough research right after the World Cup.
I mean, we can do it tomorrow and come, especially I think before that
Three,
episode. I
four
think.
live able. I think people will have enough of me and you talking. Let's not saturate.
I mean, I think that's a very good thing to do.
Interesting
To be
one,
honest.
yeah.
I mean, Robkey has a question here. He says Qatar fixed the first game. Yeah, I've been hearing that news. It's a news which has just come out very recently. Just came out an hour before. So I think it's
Yeah.
important for us to know. And there's another breaking news: Karim Benzema is possibly ruled out of the World Cup. So
Hmm.
another news which has really come off in the last 1 hour. Interesting developments. Usually in footballing world, everything happens late night in India, so it's tough to follow everything. But the latest development is that Qatar has tried to pay $7.5 million to the Ecuadorian team to lose 1-0. I hope these corruption charges are false and Ecuadorian team takes the money and defeats Qatar. So I hope that's the way they go about it.
I love how you said these corruption charges are false, and then you right away went on to assume that Ecuador has taken the money regardless of the win or lose.
So the news which has come out is that they've been offered this bribe later
Yeah.
yesterday or before
Yeah.
this World Cup. I don't know the exact details about it, so I can't really sit and make my own story. The
Yeah, I
fact
think
is
at
that
this
they've been
point in
given
time, it's
the
just
allegations are that they were offered the money and they were offered $7.5 million. And
yeah.
this World Cup has been all about controversy, man. To be very honest, there's been a lot of controversies already. I hope it's a media created thing to really put things. I think the show must go on. That's all. It's here now. Don't really go back. But then it's the latest one, which is
We need to see.
relating to the result of a game, which it's
Yeah.
also claimed that FIFA is also involved, so that the host nation gets the first win, so the fans can be attracted back into the stadium. A lot of these stories, let's not
Hmm.
ignore these stories, to be very honest,
We
because
shouldn't. We definitely shouldn't.
I don't want to go
Because
much into it. You can watch a
I
documentary on
mean,
Netflix on that.
exactly. It's scary the prospects. That if the football has gotten away from fans and going towards money, but
Because of the
at
corruption which has
this,
happened
yeah,
already in FIFA and the corruption around the World Cup and with all those fake fans and everything around the World Cup, I really hope this is not a true news, because if that is,
exactly.
then it's a huge mockery of a World Cup to start over with, and I hope
Absolutely. I
it's
mean,
false.
and what all we're doing here, it just stops making sense,
All
right?
those data analysis
And
and everything just goes out of
yeah,
the window. No works.
absolutely. I mean,
Yeah. Let's see. Let's see if at all, as per the claim, it is that Ecuador will concede a goal in the second half, and Qatar will
yeah.
go on to win that match 1-0. I
Hmm.
don't know. I just can't say. I just hope that's not the case.
I mean, but how much do you think it's possible to fix a game in
Oh, it is,
FIFA?
and
Isn't it?
highly possible. I mean, we talked about cricket as well. I think, see, it's tough to be honest to make it so real. I mean, it's tough
Yeah,
to cover it because the corruption and anti-corruption system in ICC is much stronger now than it is in FIFA because in ICC, the anti-corruption system, there are officers which are assigned for every team before a World Cup. But when it comes to
yeah.
FIFA, that's not been the case.
So
There,
I
the
think
FIFA, the
the
organization
reason for
themselves
that
are
has
under
been,
scanner.
yeah, I think the reason for that has been also the fact that ICC being so democratized compared to FIFA. With FIFA,
Yeah,
if you have one guy ruling for 10, 20 years, then things do start to pan out to be a system which is built around a particular person. I mean, not naming any names, and probably the documentary will clear a lot of things. But I think that's the reason why ICC, because it had a lot more. I mean, there are things in ICC as well, which I think every cricket fan would know. But I think overall, if you look at two systems, you would say ICC been a little bit more democratized in that sense, compared to FIFA, and that's probably the reason why. And FIFA is moving towards it, but we really need to know how much the progress is on paper and how much it's in reality. And that's been the one issue, right? That's been the one thing we're worried about.
absolutely, and that's something which I hope is not the case going ahead. Robke is back again. I think he's already made his first prediction. Yeah, I love the way how Robke makes his predictions. He's this time he says he's going to ballistically hit
Oh,
Iran.
I mean,
A
by the
lot of the
way, I think
literal sense. Let's be
if
honest.
we
If for people,
Yeah.
go ahead, go
The
ahead. Yeah.
FA, right? The FA had a crazy plan, I would say, for their team's development. I think one of the plans goal was to win the 2022 World Cup. If I'm not wrong, I think the chairman had this development plan, and their idea was to make the team so strong that they go ahead and win the World Cup. And I think so far things
Yeah.
have gone their way. Who knows? England is a good team. I think both Ronaldo and also
Robke's
Ronaldo was
predictions,
pushed by
if
Morgan.
Robke's predictions keep going, and nobody can stop them because
I mean,
his
Messi
predictions.
believes that England is above the rest. Ronaldo also said that England are a favorite after Piers Morgan pushed him a little bit.
And I would
But yeah,
also say England are the favorites.
yeah,
Um, England are one of the favorites for me. I personally love England. I think there's a love which a lot of people do not know. I love England team for all the criticism they get. I'm a huge English fan. I was super disappointed when they lost in the Euro final. Still hurts a little bit. That was a beautiful season with Sweet Caroline. It's coming home. I remember
yeah.
how gutted I was when they lost to Croatia in that 2-1 loss. But yeah, it is what it is. I hope it is the case for England, but let's see.
All right. Thank you so much, Abel, once again for your tactical analysis. Lil Maestro, as Sean has dubbed you.
I mean, I'm not any maestro, guys. I make a lot of mistakes. I'm, I can make it. I think a proper person who understands football or a coach can absolutely take these tactics and put it on my face and say, just learn football. But I try my best. I try my best to bring you both
Well,
the best.
but yeah, thank you so much, Abel, for the tactical breakdown, and thank you guys for joining us. Make sure you guys download Boomer 11, the risk-free fantasy experience, and we'll be back tomorrow. And not just tomorrow once, but again and again and again with a lot of content, World Cup related, and also maybe, just maybe, if rain gods allow, something on cricket as well. But thank you so much for joining us, guys. We'll be back tomorrow. Thank you.
Yeah. Bye bye.